Hello, hello, and welcome to the Synthesis of Style and Spirit. I'm your host, Helena Grant, and I am thrilled today to be kicking off this international global conference with my own presentation, Activating the Higher Intelligence of Your Body, 3 Keys to Living Authentically and in Your Fullest Expression. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm delighted to welcome you. And this moment, I just need to take a moment and honor it. This has been a year-long, almost a year-long journey for me to come to today to be launching this summit. And I am just, I'm speechless, which people who know me know that is not super common because I love to talk. I love to talk to people. I just love to help and explore. And that really was the impetus for me creating this summit. It was just created out of love and particularly a love of events. And it really worked out amazingly. You know, everything works out for the best, that it could be online and I could welcome so many more women than I've ever been able to do in my events, which were often in Boston. I live on the East Coast of the United States. And so I just want to start out with a little bit about what you can expect from this event, the Synthesis of Style and Spirit, a celebration of self-expression, and talk about me a little bit, your host and the producer, and also get into teaching those 3 keys for activating that higher intelligence, which is already programmed into you. You almost don't have to do anything. And of course, my approach is always very practical. It's very fun. It gives you exactly what you need for truly immediate results, because honestly, that higher intelligence of your body is just waiting for you to access it and sort of give it an invitation to have a conversation and engage. So here we are, and what an amazing day to be doing it this Monday in May. We've got the season on our side here in the Northern Hemisphere. We've got optimism blooming all around. The trees have this beautiful chartreuse green and the flowers are just popping up all over the place. So thank you again for being here. So some things that you can expect from this summit. I do need to say that absolutely every conversation I had with each speaker transformed me. And I am in the business of transformation. So that is a sort of a constant in my life. I love to access that transformation inside myself and then give that gift to my clients. And the speakers that I gathered, I was just absolutely amazed at the incredible insight and inspiration they had to offer. So you can definitely expect transformative conversations. You can expect inspiration. You can expect guidance. And most of all, you can expect to feel lighter. You can expect to feel centered and grounded after hearing what these speakers have to say. And hopefully you'll feel that same way after today's webinar. So again, I created this summit out of love of my work, love of talking to people, and love of helping women really expand and explore and cultivate their relationships with themselves. And my journey here was varied, absolutely. A lot of people ask how I became a stylist, how I got here. And it really was a journey. I started out in various industries early in my career. I was in the retail industry, of course. I love clothing. I was in the restaurant industry. I did sales and marketing. I was also in the real estate industry where, my goodness, I got quite an education on business. And all along, I really felt like there was something deeper, there was something bigger that I wanted to be doing. And in 2008, I began making handbags because I had this vision one day of this handbag that I really had to make, and they were called the kitchen sink bag. I used everyday materials to create portable pieces of art that were highly functional and a little bit ironic. And so I did that for a few years. My bags were sold all over the country at boutiques, including the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., the galleries that house all American craft. So that was a huge honor. But then I was pregnant and I was about to have my daughter, and I was really tired of rolling around on the floor with copper wire and rivets. So I discovered that all along I had really been working as a stylist for my friends, my family. People were always asking to borrow my clothes, asking me for advice. And so I really stepped into that role, which very quickly led me to realize that it's about so much more than clothing. Of course, I was able to help women identify what made them feel good, what made them feel beautiful, what made them feel confident. But I knew that there was something much deeper, and it was a lot about psychology. It was about their relationships with themselves. It was about stories that they had been told, stories they were telling themselves. And so in my work as a stylist, I began to explore those deeper levels in my clients and especially in myself. So I just really continued to explore what that looked like. And I launched Atrian Style when my daughter was just 7 months old. And all of my clients, right off the bat, they said, "You're doing so much more than telling me what to wear. You are really helping me see myself in a new way, live my life in a new way." And so I specialize in helping women heal through the power of stories and transform their relationship with themselves, which then, of course, results in them feeling beautiful and confident and fully centered and grounded and tuned in to that higher intelligence, which is, again, already programmed into their bodies. So here we are. And also I found that there was so much more to the material realm, which coincided with a pretty significant car accident that I had in 2017. It was a moment where so many things came together. It was an empty road. It was insane that these two cars collided at all. It was a Sunday night in rural Connecticut. I mean, that moment to have us come together that way was just extraordinary. And luckily, neither one of us was seriously injured. I did sustain a broken hand, but other than, and some bruises and some scratches, but other than that, both of us were totally fine. Of course, the cars were totaled, but when I came to after the impact, even before I checked in with my body to see if I was okay, I said, what am I learning? What am I being told right now? And that led to a deep dive into spirituality. So that is why we are here today to have this conversation about style and spirit, the material and the spiritual realms. Because to me, there is no difference. They are totally connected. And what connects them is us, our bodies, our human experience of spirit that has manifested into physical form, which is a huge, huge, it's something that we have an exploration, we have an obligation to launch into this journey, to ask questions and to truly, fully express ourselves. So again, so delighted you're here and just hugely honored to be delivering these messages to the world. Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick sip of my tea here. And my mug says, may you be filled with joy, because that is definitely something that I want for all women. We have that joy within us, that higher intelligence that really just wants acknowledgement and to be expressed. So the 3 keys, before I get into those, I want to do a quick vocabulary overview. When I say activate, I mean awakening. It's really activating means that you're accessing, you're awakening to, and you again are engaging with and having a conversation with your higher intelligence. And when I mean higher intelligence, of course, that is a little bit of a euphemism. You can unpack that any way that you want, but essentially that is the divine, the universal, the genius, your subconscious and unconscious minds. Those are your higher intelligence. And in so many of my conversations that you'll experience this week in the summit, that theme came up of higher intelligence. And I'm just astounded when I really take a moment to think about it, that you start out as a cell that multiplies, that multiplies, that multiplies, that multiplies, that multiplies. And somehow there is that higher intelligence that says, okay, now make bones and make muscles and create a nervous system and a circulatory system and make all of these things work together in a way that creates a body, that creates this human experience. I think it's just mind-boggling. And yet it can be so easy to take those things for granted and to be telling ourselves stories that interfere with having that beautiful, fluid conversation with what is already inside of us, that higher intelligence. And so, of course, that higher intelligence can also be called intuition, which is such a mystery to so many people, but especially as women, we know exactly what that means, because intuition is knowing without knowing. That gut feeling, which again relates back to that unconscious mind, which is in charge of our autonomic nervous system and that tells us things that we don't have to question. Of course we do, and of course we can. We have free will, but that intuition knows so much more than we do, and it guides us in so many ways. And I especially like to use intuition when it comes to getting dressed, which we can get into later, but the conscious mind, sometimes they have a little bit of a disagreement. Sometimes, they're not always aligned with one another. But when you tune into that voice, that higher intelligence, oh, it's a beautiful thing and creates so much flow and joy. And also intuition, I received a message one day. I received many. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful experience. But intuition actually drives logic. Intuition is the basis of our logical mind. We think our logical mind is in charge, and yes, it definitely has some control, but intuition is the basis of it. And I also find the conversation so fascinating that, and especially now in our modern world, that spirituality and science are not seen as synonymous. But the fact is, science was birthed from an exploration of spirituality, that people were looking for a way to explain the world and the events and what was going on. So to me, they really are the same, sort of like the material and the metaphysical worlds are the same. Style and spirit, they go together. So the 3 keys, they can be boiled down to 3 letters, M, J, D. Move, journal, and dream. So you can write those 3 down if you have a little notebook or a journal. Something I did throughout interviewing all the speakers was I would take notes. For me, it's an amazing way to process information, to hold on to it. Everything everyone says this week is really just extraordinary. It's so insightful. I think that you really are going to want to hold on to that information and really make it a part of your higher intelligence and your conscious mind. So move, journal, and dream. These are 3 ways to tap into that higher intelligence that is already there. It's already yours. It's waiting for you to access it. It is one of the most beautiful gifts that we are given as humans. And these 3 ways just get you right in there. So movement. Our bodies are made to move. And of course, in our modern world, there's a lot of sitting and standing. And I know with what's going on in the world, we've had limited movement in our lives. We haven't been able to go as many places as we normally do. There have been restrictions placed on us. But even at home, even in the smallest space, you can still move. And that can be some dancing. That could be a little bit of yoga. That can even just be taking a moment when you're sitting at the computer to let your body move around. You think about the muscles, the joints, the bones, again, that circulatory system that is already working for you. You're breathing, all of those things love movement. And it really just nourishes that higher intelligence and lets the higher intelligence know that you're taking care of it. You're not ignoring it. You're giving it something to really use and nourish it. So it can be, movement can be totally accessible. It can be a little bit of a walk outside. It could be going for a run. It can be swimming. Whatever it is, moving your body in different ways is an incredible way to help your body. You know, it has all of this programming available to it. And also things get programmed along the way. So sometimes if emotions go unprocessed, they get stored different places and different, you know, traumas. And trauma is all relative. But if trauma doesn't get the acknowledgement that it needs, the love that it requires, then it really can just kind of sit in our body and get stored in places that then cause discomfort, disease, and just a weight that we're not looking for. We really want to access that levity that is available to us, that joy. So it's a great way to help that energy flow, to really allow the body to move, which is what it loves to do. It loves to really do all those things that are human. And the next one is journal. And I think that journaling has always been something that since people started writing, has been something that people do to record, to really sort of gain perspective on what's going on, and also as an amazing way to process. And when you journal, and of course you can do it electronically, but I highly recommend handwriting, because when you write, it is a completely different experience for your body and your higher intelligence to write the letter A versus type the letter A. And how extraordinary is it that we can type the letter A and we can get so many more words out per minute than we could when we're writing. But when we are handwriting, again, it's getting into that motor movement that your body loves to do. And when you are doing those motions of making the letters, of taking pen or pencil to paper, you're accessing a different part of your brain. They're all sort of the same place. Again, it's communication, written communication, but it gets into a deeper level of communicating with yourself. So highly recommend handwriting, and it really, writing by hand connects to your intuition. So it's just that extraordinary consciousness that is within, that wants to come out, wants to journal. And you can use prompts, of course. Recording what happened at the end of the day can be an incredible way to look at the events of what occurred, emotions that came up, a wonderful way to honor what you experienced. And you are literally expressing yourself. It is a full expression of yourself when you're writing and journaling. And one of my favorite things to do when it comes to journaling is to access gratitude. Gratitude is an incredible way to ground down into your body, into your experience, and also really express how thankful you are for whatever is going on. And there's always gratitude to be found. And when you find it, when you identify it, and even in the midst of the most horrific experiences, there can always be gratitude expressed and found and delivered. And it completely changes your perspective on what you might be going through. And again, really just brings you within and helps you stay present in that present moment. So you can really, one super easy thing to do, you can do it in the morning, which is a beautiful way to start the day. You can do it in the evening. You can do it any time of day. You just identify 3 things that you are grateful for right now. So I'm just going to close my eyes for a minute And I'm going to put myself through my own paces, because that is something that I really think is so important, to have teachers that not just teach, but really walk their walk. And so I think I am so grateful for this moment that I have this tool of communication, this computer, this platform of Zoom, to be speaking to women all over the world, and that really fueled this extraordinary experience for me of creating this summit and being able to deliver these messages to everyone. I mean, that's a huge gratitude right there. I'm also always grateful for my daughter, who, you know, it's just a beautiful thing to be a mother. It's not always easy, but it's a beautiful thing. And she really does open my eyes to so much. And I am also, I'm grateful to my body right now. I'm so grateful for what it brings to me, what capabilities it has, and that I can sit here and be in this moment and just be talking and be delivering these insights to you that really just came through me. And of course, fueled by the work that I've been doing in the world, and really inspired by going forward and how I want to help women transform their relationships with themselves. So we have covered 2 of the 3: move, journal, and now the last one, which I think is my favorite, because I love to save the best for last, is dream. MJD, move, journal, and dream. And before I do this last one, I'm going to take one more sip of water, because I am human. And we need so much water. We really don't always recognize that. And it's easy to forget too. Okay, so here we go. The D of MJD, dream. One of my favorite historical figures. I think if I could have dinner with someone who has passed away, it would be Carl Jung. He was a famous Swiss psychotherapist, and he pioneered the study of dreams. He was a student of Freud, and in the beginning of their relationship, they were actually very close, but then they sort of split in terms of how they approach psychology, because Freud had a very rigid view of psychology and Jung had a very expansive view. And I remember the moment in 2018 when I first heard the name Jung, and it was like something struck me on such a deep level that I knew I had to really dive deep and explore and find out everything that I could about this man. And one of his very famous quotes, he has many, is, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And just a note, I think part of what appealed so much to me about Jung was that I found in my work as a stylist for women that there was such a deep psychology to how women were getting dressed, how they were expressing themselves, how they were interacting with their clothing, with their environment, and with their own image, their reflection in the mirror. And I also believe that my grandfather, who I did not know, my mother's father, was a dream analyst. And I'm sure that he was a Jungian based on what my mother has told me about him and his approach to dreams. And also on a personal note, my personal experience with dreams was when I was younger, I would have dreams and I would wake up and think that they were real. I would have mornings where I would go into the kitchen and I would ask my mom if something had happened in a way that had been presented in the dream. I really had trouble deciphering between the dreamscape and reality, or waking life, rather. And that was really very extraordinary. And then as I grew older, I started having even more access to my dream world, especially after getting struck by lightning at 16, which is another story. But I believe that opened up a whole new portal to me being a dream guide for women and really being able to also tune in to that higher intelligence that is being delivered through your dreams. So, quick and dirty on the structure of the mind, AKA the iceberg. You often see the conscious mind and the subconscious mind being presented as that iceberg, that your conscious mind is really just that tip of the iceberg that's above the surface of the water, and then your unconscious and subconscious minds are what's beneath. I also sort of like to use some other metaphors. That's something I use a lot in my work with my clients as a way to explain things, as a way to help people understand what might be going on a deeper level. And of course, I'm a huge fan of words and stories. So another metaphor I like to use for the structure of the mind is an egg, where of course, an egg is actually quite complicated when you look at everything involved with it. But you have the shell, you have the white, and you have the yolk, if you are going to be a little bit reductionist of it, just for exploratory purposes. Let's just look at it as those three aspects of the egg. So the shell is the conscious mind. The white, it's the albumen. What is it? Yes, albumen. Albumen is the white, and then you have the yellow yolk. So the shell is the conscious mind, albumen is the subconscious mind, the yolk is the unconscious mind. And all of these aspects play various roles. So the conscious mind is sort of limited space. That's where our logic lives. And a lot of our behaviors and programming are expressed through the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is where our habits, our emotions, our permanent memory exist. And it's also actually a lot more powerful than our conscious mind. And then, of course, the unconscious is the primitive brain, that yolk. It's where our immune system lives, our autonomic nervous system, i.e. our breathing, our blood flow, etc. So all of these three aspects are working together all the time. And of course, they all represent that higher intelligence that is programmed within us. And then to take that metaphor just a little bit further into the realm of our closets, which of course to me is an extended metaphor for personal development, that relationship with ourselves. I think of the conscious mind as sort of like your go-to outfit. Maybe it's yoga pants or a pair of jeans that you know fit. It's like, just boom, put this on, I can go outside, I can get things done, or, get to work. And then your subconscious mind is something that you enjoy wearing, that, you put on every once in a while, especially when you want to do something different. You want to just access a different part of yourself. And then your unconscious mind is sort of like that ball gown that's always there, doesn't always get to play a role every day, but sometimes you think about it, and when you look at it, you have those memories of a great night, and you hope that it'll play a role in the future. I'm actually wearing a ball gown right now. I mean, why not? So that is sort of a quick overview of those three players of your mind, which play such a huge role in your expression, in your experience, and that concept of the higher intelligence really being a huge part of your everyday. And so all of these minds come together while you're asleep. And I have a wonderful interview that you will see later in the week with Dr. Terry Ward. She is a Jungian dream analyst, and she talks about how we are actually more awake when we're asleep. When you're asleep, your body is resting and your autonomic nervous system is taking over. You just don't have to think, but you actually are still thinking. And it's a time where the yolk and the white of the egg come to the surface, where that ball gown that you don't always get to wear comes out to play. And your dreams speak to you in a symbolic language. And a lot of people don't understand that symbolic language right off the bat. If you've ever experienced someone speaking in a foreign language that you don't speak, you think, well, they don't make any sense. I don't understand them. But that doesn't mean they aren't making sense and that they aren't understandable. So that's what's going on with your subconscious and your unconscious when you're sleeping and you're dreaming. And we dream all the time. We just don't always remember the dreams, but we will get into that. So dreams are really, they offer mirrored glimpses into your infinite self, which is another term I like to use for that higher intelligence. It's that your infinite self, that you're here right now, but you're here in the future and you're there in the past, and you truly extend in all directions at all times. You have your ancestors, you have the future people that will be, a part of the future. I could really get off on a tangent on that. So I'm going to bring myself back and say that you can absolutely engage and converse with your dreams, because they are you. They are a reflection of you, and they are such a beautiful space to explore. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to dream because, again, there's that little bit of a hurdle with understanding that symbolic language, that sort of foreign language that might be going on, that might be presenting itself. But it's a beautiful space. It is the golden road to that higher intelligence. And it's also, I think, our conscious mind is able to process a very limited amount of information. If we could process everything all the time, it would be so overwhelming for our brains. So our conscious mind sort of filters out what it's able to process. So it's about, they have trouble really nailing down a specific number. I think that we will be studying the brain for eons, but it's about 40 units per second, which is still quite a lot. So, I'm conscious, I'm aware that I've got the computer here, that I'm talking, I've got my tea, I've got my feathers, I've got the light here, I've got the trees outside. Oh my God, 40 units per second. But then the subconscious and unconscious mind are processing 500,000 units per second. So when you think about what's going on while you're dreaming, that mind that exists below the surface, below the iceberg tip that you can see of the conscious mind, it's trying to catch up. It's trying to get everything processed and delivered and give you the information that you need to really thrive and be happy and fully united and self-actualized. So a wonderful way to really start to engage and converse with your dreams is to do a little exercise where you set a container before you go to sleep. So now maybe you've spent the day, you've done some movement here and there, you've done some journaling, you've done your gratitudes, you're open and you're willing to access and converse with that higher intelligence, your intuition. And as you're going to sleep, you, again, set a container and you say, I remember my dream. You set a container by setting an intention. And so many people say, I never remember what I dream. Well, guess what? You're never going to remember what you dream when you say, I never remember what I dream. It's like setting yourself up to not remember. But when you set the intention of what you are doing, which is remembering, and so even while you're dreaming, you're programming yourself to remember what the dream is. So again, I remember my dream. And ask a question. Again, you think about all those 500,000 units of information per second that your subconscious and unconscious mind are trying to process throughout the day. And at night, they're sort of getting to take over because the conscious mind, it's out. It's done a lot of work during the day and that like tip of the iceberg. So it gets to take a break at night, which is amazing. It gets to like weave together all those synapses, And it can just sort of hand things over to the inside of the egg. And so it's really that moment, those moments while you're dreaming, while you're sleeping, it's giving your mind a chance to process and catch up. So when you ask it a question, you're creating a channel for that communication to come through. So what I like to do is I write a question on a little index card. It could be a little piece of paper. It could even be in your journal. But I like to put that note under my pillow, and then you meditate on the question as you're going to sleep. So it could be something such as, what do I need to know for my day tomorrow that you may have forgotten or that you haven't considered? And you just put that little note under the pillow or in the journal, and you just think about that question as you're going to sleep. And the reason why you write it down is because you will probably forget the question in the morning. You will be so amazed at the dream that you had that you forget what the question is. So it's sort of fun to ask the question and then remember the question in the morning, and it helps you remember the dream. It's like the sandwich, the bread sandwich, the bread on the sandwich that, it's like a vehicle. You ask the question at night, and then you have the question in the morning, and you can sort of see what the dream had to say to you. And then be prepared to record. As soon as you wake up, you can keep your eyes closed. You can sort of recall the dream, but as soon as you can, record what came through. Even if it seems like it makes no sense, it does. And it might not make sense immediately. It might take some time. It might take some work, but it absolutely makes sense. You just need to figure out where the sense is and how you can communicate and converse with that aspect of yourself. I think another barrier that people have to dreaming is that they think that the only dreams that they remember are bad dreams. And so I will say that dreams are neutral. They're sort of like an archetype, that they are not assigned good or bad. They're just dreams. It's our interpretation of whether it was a good dream or a bad dream. And I think when people have bad dreams, it's because it's that subconscious, that unconscious mind that's trying to say, like, wake up. And it can be very jarring, and it can be sort of uncomfortable. And likely the bad dreams involve something that we're not processing in our conscious mind, maybe that we're even suppressing. And there is a lot of trauma right now. There's global trauma with what we've gone through with this pandemic. So many layers to that. And there actually have been reports of so many more people remembering their dreams, which haven't always been pleasant dreams. So they're identifying them as unpleasant because, again, there are unpleasant feelings and emotions that are not being processed. Maybe they're not moving, maybe they're not dancing, maybe they're not journaling. And so all of that information is getting pushed way, way back. And then when you go to sleep, it's coming forward. So I really like to think of it as almost a dance with your dreams. It's like you're dancing with yourself, and there is so much information available through those dreams, and you don't even have to do anything. You just have to be open to the conversation and the communication. It's a beautiful thing, an absolutely beautiful thing. So that is the presentation on the 3 keys to living life authentically and in your fullest expression. You get to move, you get to journal, and you get to dream. These are super basic, very practical, highly accessible ways to really get in tune with who you are on a deep, deep level. That came into existence at a very specific moment in life, but that has knowledge that, again, extends through that infinite self, forward and backward. You are fully informed, and you have all the information that you need. All the truths are right inside. And the beautiful thing about being a human, sometimes it comes with some drawbacks. I admit it. There are days where we don't feel so good. We feel sort of heavy, and maybe we look in the mirror and it's like, bleh. Believe me, I understand. Not every day it's like, oh, yay, it's fabulous today. It's balanced, and it goes in cycles, it goes in swings. Absolutely. But when you can sort of always just fall back on what your body might need, what your intuition is asking you to do, oh, wow, it just really, really opens things up and makes life so much easier, so much more joyful. You can be so much more present in every moment of every day. And I promise you, if you have ever experienced the, oh my goodness, I don't know what to wear, I don't want to get dressed, which, believe me, I have heard that quite a lot in my work with women. It's why they turn to me. And of course, when they turn to me, it's because they are ready to truly explore that deeper level of why they're having so much trouble with that first moment in the day of getting dressed, of figuring out where they're headed, of setting that intention. Because when you do get dressed, whether it's putting on some loungewear or it's preparing for a meeting or going somewhere, I mean, who knows what our world is going to look like going forward. But getting dressed is, even if it's putting on your day pajamas, it's still an aspect of what we're doing every day. And it's a great thing that we get to do. That's part of the human experience of having this body that we get to explore and express. It's really, it's so much fun. It can be so much fun. But yes, of course, it can be overwhelming and it can be difficult. But when you take a moment, you take a breath, and just like with the dreams, when you say, I never remember my dreams, you're probably not going to remember your dreams. When you say, I have nothing to wear, you're going to feel like you have nothing to wear. But when you take that step back and you let your higher intelligence and your intuition take over in any area of your life, whether it's getting dressed or knowing what to do on your to-do list, whatever it might be, you get to surrender. You get to deliver up to something that just wants to guide you and take you to that highest expression of yourself and really give you the access to that higher intelligence, so you don't have to worry anymore. You almost don't have to think. All the thinking is already done when you just let your body guide you. So when we explore this metaphor of getting dressed, I love to say, how do I want to feel today? Maybe I want to feel light. I want to feel fluid. I want to feel confident. I want to feel beautiful. And then you can just, you don't even have to be standing in front of your closet. You can be somewhere else. You can be drinking a cup of tea in the kitchen and you can say, okay, this is how I want to feel. What item do I have that is going to help me access that? And I promise you, something's going to come to mind. Maybe it's a pair of shoes. Maybe it's a pair of socks. Maybe it's a necklace. Maybe it's a pair of earrings. And you can start from there and see where that journey of expression carries you, because that is what our higher intelligence wants, to be fully expressed and recognized, and to really fuel this experience of being human, of being on this plane, of being able to put on clothes, of being able to experience what it's like to see a reflection in the mirror and to have that conversation with ourselves. So that is all of the 3 keys to really activating that higher intelligence of your body so that you can live authentically and in your fullest expression. Again, MJD, move, journal, and dream. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being a part of the Synthesis of Style and Spirit. I have some free gifts available on my speaker page on the Synthesis website. I'm offering 3 free transformative healing sessions. There's a little form that you can fill out. It's just about 4 simple questions. I give you some, on a scale of 1 to 10. They're very easy to answer. I highly recommend you don't spend a lot of time on them. You just access that higher intelligence of your body and let it respond to those questions. So I'm giving that away on my speaker page. I'll put a link in the comments. And then I'm also going to be doing another webinar on Thursday, May 14th. It's not this Thursday. It's the following Thursday after the summit. I'll be speaking about loving your lens and the way that you see the world, the way that you see yourself. And really, again, building off of what we talked about today, that beautiful higher intelligence, that joy that is within you and highly accessible, ready to rock, absolutely rock. It just wants to dance with you through life and be available to you and be that guidance that makes it so you do not have to do anything. You can just lay back and go with the flow of joy and full, authentic expression. So please, I'll put the, gonna put the, in the comments here, let's make sure I spell everything correctly. That is the link to the website. Oh, no, I need to give you my speaker page. I'm just gonna let my higher intelligence take over here, although it doesn't always do such a great job of spelling. This is this of style.com/Helena-Grant. All right. Thank you again so much for being here today for this webinar. Thank you for being a part of the synthesis where we are bringing two worlds together, the material and the metaphysical, so that we can be in full celebration and full expression of our bodies and of our experience. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your day. Happy Monday. And please enjoy the synthesis of style and spirit. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah!